Hello there. We are live, a little late, but definitely live. And let me welcome everybody and apologize for technical difficulties. And I am introducing you to Should You Take That Case? Welcome, everyone. I'm here today with the maiden voyage of our weekly live show, Should You Take That Case? I am Lisa Wade, legal nurse consultant, owner of Wade Nurse Consultants, and we are going to be interviewing Laurie Jubelirer. She'll be with us momentarily. And before we get to know Laurie a little bit more, thank you again for your patience. We're going to take a peek at the chat and say hello to our visitors. Hi, Michelle Anderson. Hi, Erica, Shanita. I'm so glad you came by. And what Should You Take This Case is all about? It is about getting to know each other a little bit more than we would during, regular networking events, a 10-second or a 1-minute elevator speech. Hopefully, getting to know each other a little bit better during these days of virtual networking. Also, we are going to get to know the members of my LinkedIn community, and that is the Attorney Medical Record Resource Group. That is, Laurie is also a member. So let me ask, is there anybody out there that is an attorney or already a part of our Attorney Medical Record Resource Group? Then just put an A in the chat for me. If there are any attorneys out there or any members of our group. Also, Laurie is a member along with me in our women-owned law. And that's where legal professionals, women legal professionals, attorneys, and paralegals, or anybody adjacent to the legal profession get together and talk about and help and support each other in expanding our businesses. So if there are any women-owned law members out there, put a W in that chat for me so I can see you're out there and say hello. And if you are a woman and an entrepreneur, please put a W in that chat so we can take a look at you and say hello, especially this very first day of Women's Month. So that's what we're going to be. That's what we're going to be working on. Women and attorneys and legal professionals expanding their businesses and getting to know each other. So now, we have a W. Hi, Michelle Anderson and Shanita. Hello. It's good to have women entrepreneurs on our show today. Please, when we talk to Laurie, we're going to find out a lot more about her, get to know her a little bit better. And after we chat and I do a little interview, there'll be time for Q&A. So now I shall introduce our guest today. Laurie Jubelirer is an experienced, compassionate, and tireless advocate for juveniles and adults facing criminal charges and violations of their civil rights. This includes school disciplinary matters, police excessive force cases, and prisoner civil rights cases involving assaults or delays in medical care. Laurie received her Bachelor's of Arts degree at the University of Pennsylvania in 1984 and earned her JD at Temple University, James E. Beasley School of Law in 1987. Ms. Jubelirer also earned a master's degree in trial advocacy in 1995 at the Temple University, James E. Beasley School of Law. Prior to starting her own practice in 2013, she worked as a prosecutor at the Philadelphia District Attorney's Office from 1987 to 1995, in private practice from 1995 to 1996, and as a deputy attorney general at the Pennsylvania office of the Attorney General from 1997 to 2013. Let's not go backwards in time. And now I bring to you Laurie Jubelirer. Oh, let me unmute you.
Thank you, Lisa, for that wonderful introduction. I'm so glad to be here.
Oh, yay. I'm so happy to have you. It's good to have a chance to talk to you about medical screening of medical cases. That's what we're going to talk to you about, get some insight in what you do when those types of cases come across your desk. But before we get to that, I want to have a chance to listen to you and find out a little bit more about you, about your path, your journey, your story, from a little girl to medicine. Not the whole thing, but just how you got here to law.
Well, I love helping. What? I love helping people.
Elizabeth says you're temple made.
Aw, thank you, Elizabeth. I got here. I've always loved helping people, and my career did start out in the government, helping, working in public interest for the citizens of Philadelphia and Pennsylvania. My dream was to open my own practice, and then 7.5 years ago, I did that. And so Jubelirer Law was opened in 2013, and I'm a solo practitioner, and I absolutely love what I do. I'm doing criminal defense work as well as civil rights work. And one thing that I feel like that I do is I'm the voice for people, especially behind bars, that we don't hear, we don't see, we don't realize some pretty tough things they go through. And especially, that's how I met Lisa, through Women Don't Law, and with some of these prisoner civil rights cases where they got some pretty bad medical treatment and pretty bad injuries. Lisa helped me to review some medical records and understand them. And my clients are so grateful for me to be their voice, me to advocate for them and try to seek justice for them. So that's what I do. And when I have those moments of gratitude from my clients for helping to get them a positive result, that just makes my day, makes me tick.
And Shanita says you are a voice for those behind bars, and they need you. And that's true. Yeah. Laurie, I have found her to be a very dedicated attorney and a really genuine person. And it's nice that we can get to know her a little bit more like that. Much better than a little quick networking group. I like it a lot more. So yes, I'm just checking this chat, just making sure, see what else they have to say about you. Yay. Hi, Jody. Good, Elizabeth. Thank you for coming. It's much appreciated. And so I know you are working towards helping for justice and for your clients. I know those medical cases don't come up as often for you as they may for personal injury attorneys. And so I'm just trying to find out what goes into you, what factors go into you deciding to take one of those medical cases, or, should you refer it out to another attorney or another firm?
It's a great question, Lisa. And I've done both. In terms of the medical cases, one of the factors that goes in my mind, first of all, I need to make sure there was something happened that was illegal on behalf of the medical provider, meaning the standard of care appears to be below the standard of care that they got. And not only that, but that for example, it's very common that there's a delay in medical care in the prisoner scenario. And so was there a delay? Should there not have been a delay? And then most important, what are the damages? Because to bring these kind of civil rights cases, it's very costly and time consuming. So I need to make sure on both parts that it's going to be lucrative for my client and myself to dive into this and put out the money and the time. So that's one of the things I consider before I take that case. And in terms of referring cases, I've gotten some more complicated cases. For example, when there's a death, I had a case, two cases actually. One of them where a potential client overdosed in a state halfway house where he was supposed to be watched every hour, and there was records showed that they missed like 3 or 4 hours, and they found him dead on the floor from an overdose in a facility. And then I realized, since with terms of resources, that should be referred out, because that's just a lot of depositions, a lot of medical records, and it felt that somebody with more than just a solo attorney would be better suited for that. So I referred that one out. And those types of more complex injuries or death, where I feel like it's just too much for me to handle, I want them to be in the best hands. Mm-hmm. So that's how I do that. And then now, having the relationship with Lisa, I think it's nice, because if I'm unsure, it's hard to read those medical records often, and I like being able to talk to someone about it before I make that decision. And really, it's a big decision. So when I have potential clients, I always let them know that I'm considering taking their case before I take it, and I review the medical records before I absolutely decide to file suit and make sure it's something that is legally viable.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, reviewing cases ahead of time, because every bad outcome is not necessarily that there's a negligence that's going on. So,
Exactly.
Unfortunately,
Exactly.
Yeah. So when those medical cases come up, and it's important, you said that you get those screened and review them before you decide to take the case. Is there anything about those medical records? What do you find, if anything, the most difficult in dealing with them?
That's a great question too, because I'm very impatient, and so when I finally get them, it's not so easy to get them, especially in the prison with signing a release. They're not physically there, and then getting it back, and then and then it comes in hard copies sometimes. But anyway, the language, the abbreviations, who did what, when, why. I think it's very challenging, and they don't come in chronological order. Like, it doesn't go from date A to date B, from early to late. It's just all this stuff, medicine logs and contacts and sending out somewhere, and it's really hard. So it is challenging, and I can't do it. I really realize now, after experiencing many of these cases, I can't do this on my own. I'm not a medical professional, and that's okay.
And it is. Certainly. And so now, do you have a routine or a procedure or process that you use consistently to get those cases screened?
A lot of times, I talk to the client, so I find out from their version what happened, and then I review the records. I oftentimes talk to my colleagues, other attorneys who do these types of cases, to see, what do you think, and is this in the law for prisoner civil rights cases, we use the word deliberate indifference as well as negligence, because it's a constitutional violation as well as a Pennsylvania statute of negligence violation. So I usually do both in those cases, and they're different standards. And then oftentimes I like to have a professional review them and let me know what they think, either by way, is it an expert? I've used experts before. and I'll use someone like you, Lisa, to help me in the early stages, put it in simple chronological order to help me understand it. So it helps me when I write my complaint too. It's because it's much more clear, as well as in future depositions. So yeah, that's what I do.
I'm definitely happy to be of help and assistance anytime you need me, Laurie.
Thank you.
Is there any advice that you might give a new or veteran attorney when these medical cases come up, how they should decide or what should go into their decision should they take that case?
One of the things that I've realized, and sometimes you don't realize it until you're way in the case, and that is damages. And for example, I had a case where, and sometimes really bad things happen to someone. I guess it's damages and liability. And sometimes you don't know that till you're way into a case. For example, I had a case somewhat recently where someone, the prison refused to, in my mind, and in the other medical minds, properly wean a client off of a benzo, which was called Klonopin. And it was abrupt, and he had psychosis, hallucinations, seizures, etc. And it's like, oh my God, that's awful. And then in the middle of the case, well, these kind of medicines, they don't give, they try not to have them around too much because they transfer them to other prisoners and da 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 da. And then you see, and you learn these defenses, and we did see him, we did try, we did this, and all of a sudden the case you thought was so great wasn't as great. So it's really challenging to know you can only know so much when you decide you're going to you're going to go into it. But, nor do you know how your client's going to do in a deposition. I had that same case where the client, all of a sudden he had some mental health problems, just started screaming at the opposing counsel. And you're in the middle of the deposition, like it was too much for him. Like, leave me alone. You're against me. You're this. You can't predict those things. So fortunately, down the line, it ended up settling. A lot of them do. You have to do a lot of work to get to that point. But you try your very best to make sure that you believe you'll be successful. But it doesn't always, it can be challenging.
Oh, well, Laurie, it's wonderful to have you here. You're sharing your knowledge, you're sharing your experience, and it's much appreciated. And we're going to have time for a little Q&A. If anybody has a question out there, if any folks get ready and start thinking about your question, and you can put it in the chat. But before we get to that, we have a tiny, what you might call a commercial break. So, and it's wonderful having Laurie here today, who admits that, she may not be using or litigating medically related cases on a large basis, but she does realize that having a medical case screening to determine if she should pursue or shouldn't pursue a case is important. And I, as a legal nurse consultant, I provide attorneys with a 1 to 2 page brief summary and an opinion regarding the merits of those medical cases. And my 30 plus years of experience does help me make quick work of those medical screenings. So if you're watching this today and you have any backlog of the cases that have to be screened, or you need to get clarity around the medical issues and give yourself time and freedom to focus on the legal aspects of your cases, this is what you can do now. We're going to offer at Wade Nurse Consultants a free 20-minute medical case strategy call. And what I'll do during that call, I'll help you hone an efficient, timely, and cost-effective routine around your medical cases. And I'll help you evaluate the resources that you're using now to get your medical reviews and medical case screenings done. And we'll analyze your level of satisfaction with your current procedures. Now, if you're have a legal nurse consultant full-time or a nurse paralegal that always does your screenings perfectly and consistently, that this call's not for you. So, but if you need to or trying to expand the variety of cases that you handle, or the intensity and complexity of cases, and you want to say yes more often to should you take that case, then just put the word medical case in the comments or in the chat, and we'll get to you by email and schedule an appointment for you. But now, on to the Q&A for Laurie. Do we have any questions for Laurie? Let's take a look. We have comments that Shanita says it's great that you're able to understand that you need to sometimes outsource those medical cases to be reviewed. And Elizabeth is super proud of both of us. Elizabeth, she's that simple. Yeah, she's super proud of both of us. And she's glad to support us in any way possible. That's much appreciated, ladies. And let me see. Oh, yeah, that's a technical thing. I don't really know how I did that. But that was Shanita's comment. Uh, let's see. Let's see, Shanita. I think I have to move your comment. Pardon our technical issues. And thank you for your patience. And it looks like we're not having any questions for you at the moment. But I do have one question for you, Laurie. Will you come back again to our show?
I'd love to. Thank you for asking.
Oh, I'm so glad to have you. You've been wonderful sharing your experience, sharing your knowledge, and it's been wonderful getting to know you. I hope you utilize the Attorney Medical Record Resource Group if you have any questions that come up while you're doing a review, a term, many abbreviations. I know you mentioned that can definitely be a problem. So just put it in our chat at the Attorney Medical Record Resource Group, and we'll help you out. Women Owned Law has a symposium that is going to happen this month. If anybody out there is considering joining Women Owned Law, just take a visit to that Women Owned Law website and become a member like me and like Laurie. And I think we're winding down. Do you have any more questions? Oh, wait a minute. We might have one comment. Hold on. Hold on. Let's put. I'm gonna put this up here, Shanita, if that's okay. Her question, Laurie. She currently has a loved one in Campbell and is currently having issues with his eyes, but staff is moving a little too slow to really address it. What do I do? Do you have any advice?
Great question, Shanita. So sorry about that. I guess I'd like to know a little bit more about how serious it would be. What specifically is going on? Is it something as in terms of needing glasses, or it's something more medical? And oftentimes it's hard for the loved ones to advocate on behalf of their family inside a prison. And sometimes one of the things that I do is people hire me to be their advocate in those situations where I might not necessarily be filing a lawsuit, but I know who to call and who to write to, and to make sure that things get done the way they're supposed to, especially when there's some, medical damages or injuries that can occur from not giving somebody care that they need. So you're consulting an attorney such as myself. You can always, Camp Hill is one of the hugest state institutions, so probably trying to call there would be really frustrating, to be honest. But someone like me can always be of help and guidance to start with.
All right. Well,
there we go. Okay.
More information. He's having swelling and eye irritation after working in the kitchen. They have given him eye drops and the swelling continues, but the irritation has subsided. Oh.
So that's I'm glad you clarified that. What I would ask if it's a loved one or your friend to do, as I would recommend them if they were my client, is they should put things in writing, either by, we call them request slips to the staff, sending a request slip to the medical department that, and eyes are a big deal, obviously. The swelling is of concern, what I'm concerned, I need help, I need an appointment. And if they're not getting the relief they want, there's something called grievances that they can file, which is a little more of a, they have to respond. It's there's different levels and appeals of grievances. So that's the first steps I would have that person take, is that putting it in writing and request slip for a medical appointment, and be very persistent. That's what I would do.
Well, thank you, Laurie. Shanita, has that? I hope that was some good advice for you. And what I'll do is I'll connect you when we're done. I'll connect you to Laurie, if that's all right with you.
Of course, sure. I'd be happy to help.
Oh, all right. Any more questions? I'm taking a look. I don't see any more in the chat at the moment. So I think we're going to wind up, Laurie.
If I can say, I'm very honored that I was the first guest on your Should I Take That Case? Should you take that case?
Uh-huh.
And then I also feel honored that it's Women's History Month.
Yes.
And the way you explained that in your introduction, and that means the world to me, that I am part of that right now.
You're wonderful. Michelle said very good info. And Shanita says thank you.
My pleasure.
Oh, and like I said, it was wonderful to have you. And you talked about how you refer out those cases for maybe if it's a wrongful death or things like that, that may be a little much for you, and you're concerned about damages. That's something to consider early in the process. And hopefully the new and veteran attorneys will keep that in mind. And in the meantime, you're going to come back again, and I'll invite you back again. It was wonderful.
Thank you.
And wonderful to get to know you. And in the meantime, everybody that's out there, if you're going to be part of, or if you already are part of our attorney medical record resource group, keep those medical record questions coming in, or email me, lisa@wadenurseconsultants.com. And you can catch us next time for another episode of Should You Take That Case? Thank you.
Thank you.